Hello and welcome to the 25th episode of the PSPremiere Podcast. I'm your host, James Smith, and today I'm joined once again by Dory.
Hello, I'm Dory. I go by she, her pronouns. And wow, look at this revisitation of classic PS Premiere episodes. You got James, you got me, and you got Seb.
Wow, speaking of, we're also joined by Seb today.
So I'm Sebastian. You can follow me at Little793, and I hope everybody's having a.
So, Seb, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I've been playing. I haven't really touched my PlayStation this week, so I dabbled in Immortals: Phoenix Rising. I got like I don't know, 10% into the game. If you like Breath of the Wild, you'll like it, and if you don't, skip it because it's like Breath of the Wild. It's a clone of Breath of the Wild. I'm like at the end of Luigi's Mansion 3. I'm like literally at the last boss for the podcast. And what else am I playing? And I'm playing Tell Me Why on Game Pass.
How is that? That's an Xbox exclusive, right? Xbox and PC.
Yes. Yeah, because it literally says Xbox Game Studios, so I don't think it's coming to PlayStation anytime soon. If it ever does. But yeah, if you like Life is Strange, you'll love this game, and if you don't, you won't like this game at all. This is literally Life is Strange. Even to the point where like some of the animation's a little janky and the dialogue can be a little corny sometimes. You know, like the acting can be a little corny.
I thought the dialogue. I remember that being a big issue in Life is Strange 1, but it was a lot better in Life is Strange 2, to my recollection.
It was, but they're like a French developer, I believe.
Yeah.
So they don't really, they can't really get an accurate depiction of like American talk. I mean, it's understandable, but it's not that bad. It's not like Life is Strange 1 bad, even though the dialogue is not that bad in that game either. But it's still noticeable. It's not Heavy Rain, that's for sure. Anyway, yeah. So it's a good game, but it's a bit slow. It's like watching a TV drama, for like 2 to 3 hours. Yeah. So it's a nice game. Like play something in between, you know.
Yeah, because I think the thing with that one, wasn't it, like they had all the episodes finished and done when they released the first one, but then they released them once a week, like a TV show.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, yeah. And finally, I was playing the Medium, which is, you can call it the Midium, because it's one of the most mid games I've ever played. It's
nice.
It's very average. If you like Silent Hill, I think you'll like it, but yeah, it's just very slow. It plays just like kind of like David Cage game. Like, have you ever played Detroit Become Human or Heavy Rain like that? It has that kind of like gameplay where you pick up stuff and you walk around with the fixed camera angles and stuff. And but the problem is, even on computer, it's like the frame rate's kind of shitty, and because especially when you split the screen, because you play as like the supernatural version of her, and then you play in the regular world, and it's kind of like how you solve puzzles and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's when the game starts kind of dipping, even on a high-end PC. So like I think it dips like in the 30s, I think, frame rate and stuff. I heard it's even worse on Xbox. So. Wow. It's worth. I guess it's worth checking out if you have Game Pass, but otherwise I'd probably skip it.
It's supposed to be like a Silent Hill spiritual successor, right?
It has the like sound. It's like the guy that did the soundtrack of the original games, but I don't think it has anything to do with sound. I think it's just like it plays homage to it a bit,
Sure.
But it's definitely mediocre. It's a shame that it's like Xbox's first major game, but they didn't. It's not a first party game, so it is coming to PlayStation, I believe. I think it's a timed exclusive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it like it's a next gen thing, isn't it? Of like, because it has that thing where it's like the 2 different dimensions or something like that. I haven't looked into it a bunch, but it's like,
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, like she's psychic, and she can go across dimensions and go to the spirit world and all that. And you solve puzzles and stuff by doing that. But that's kind of when the game starts dipping, because it's hard for the game to like have 2 things running at the same time. So I think that's where the frame rate issues are happening.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they got this idea that they really wanted to push, and then they sort of wouldn't compromise on it to the
Yeah.
detriment of the game.
It's a game that needed a better studio that had more money to handle the idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was just a simple like walking simulator, like which what it is, and puzzle solver without and you just had like a cool story about her being psychic, I think it would have been better than like making her go through the other world and stuff like that. I think that's what hinders the game a lot. But yeah, it's like an old school survival horror game. I think a lot of people are not going to like it personally. And
Yeah,
from
reviews have been really divided.
Yeah, so when I've seen a lot of people, I've seen people that actually like it, but most of the reaction's been pretty meh. So
yeah,
I know this is not an Xbox podcast, but
no, yeah, for sure.
It's just meh. It's worth trying, I guess, but I don't think it might not click with you.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Game Pass. Really, you can sort of just try the games and see if you like them or not without having to buy in.
Yeah, it's a slow burn. So
yeah. Dory, what have you been playing?
James, I'm happy to report that we're continuing this as an Xbox podcast because I got
great. We'll rebrand immediately.
Yeah, we're rebranding immediately as an Xbox podcast. So I have been making full use of a Game Pass Ultimate I got for free about a week and a half ago. I finished Hypnospace Outlaw, which I thought was really, really cool. It's like I think I talked about this a little bit last week, but basically you're a moderator in an alternative version of the 90s. It's kind of like Geosites, if you remember that, mixed with like lots of ridiculous kinds of music. The soundtrack absolutely slaps. It's just great. I got kind of frustrated with the puzzles towards the end because a lot of it's just a puzzle game with searching terms and stuff like that. But it actually has a really engaging story, more of an engaging story than I thought it would have. So I did really enjoy it overall, but I got frustrated with the puzzles, so I just looked up a guide for about the last hour or two because I kind of just wanted the game to be done. But I liked the narrative, so I wanted to finish it. So a little bit of a conflict at the end there, but overall I really enjoyed it. I also recently played on Game Pass The Gardens Between, which is a very cute, very wholesome and lovely sounding game about two friends who are reliving a lot of their past memories. It has a sort of future and past sort of dynamic where you can rewind the characters and then fast forward them by walking in certain directions.
Oh, I know this game.
Yeah, it's very cute. It's very wholesome
as well.
Yeah, and so it only takes you about like 2 hours to beat. It was a very easy. I needed help on a couple of puzzles, but for the most part, I was able to do it by myself, which is amazing because I am not a puzzle person. And then lastly, to round off this whole Xbox bonanza, I have also been playing. I finished Donut Country in about one sitting. County. Sorry, I wish it was a country. Instead, it's just a county. That had 1,000 times more story than I was expecting, which was very funny. Sure. I was expecting literally no context or very, very little amounts of context, but actually the whole game is situated around this story of this asshole raccoon. I won't say too much for spoilers, I guess, but basically this asshole raccoon causes this whole huge issue. And it's a big redemption story, I think.
I like the raccoons. It's interesting. I sort of went in for the raccoons and I stayed for the story when I played that game.
I thought the gameplay was okay. I didn't think it's just Katamari Damacy, but like a little different.
I like it a lot because it's just a sort of unique concept that you don't get in a lot of games, and I feel like it has a lot of longevity. Like it's very simple and satisfying, you know.
Yes, I would agree. It's simple and satisfying, especially when you get like these huge objects like buildings and stuff like that. My interest kind of waned a little bit, and I got frustrated a little bit with there actually is a boss fight in the game, which I couldn't believe. But I got a little frustrated, but mostly because I was moving my mouse too fast. So I had like 5 chances to hit the boss, and I missed every single one. And one hit would have basically guaranteed my win, and I couldn't fucking do it the first time.
I think it shows the greatness of video games. It's the only medium where you can make a game about a black hole that sucks in items, like, and just bigger and bigger. It's the only medium that can do that.
Yeah,
it was fun though. Let's see, what else have I been playing? Oh, I finished Uncharted 4. Have I talked about that? I don't think so.
Fire.
I
Uncharted 4 is done. It was very, very good. It's my favorite Uncharted game. I think I only had a few hiccups here and there in terms of like things I didn't quite like or a scene or two, but this is just really nitpickings. I love the ending, although I already knew what the ending was because I didn't care about the story. So I had already heard about the closing cutscenes. It's very cute. It's like I think Mitch said it's like the polar opposite of a Last of Us ending, where it's just really feel good, happy. Like you feel like everything's wrapped up in a nice bow. There's no ambivalence. There's no ambiguity. Everything's nice and happy,
Yeah.
ish.
Which is
And it feels right for that franchise.
Yes.
I think in a way that it wouldn't have done for The Last of Us.
Agreed. But I just think it's so funny. From same studio, very different endings for very different franchises.
Same director as well.
Yes. Well, I mean, they did have Starley as well, but yes.
Now, how many Uncharted games have you played?
I played 1 through 4 now. The only ones I haven't played is Lost Legacy.
So is 4 your favorite? Is 4 your favorite so far?
4 is my favorite, with the only one even coming close is 2. So I'm excited to play Lost Legacy.
Have any of us played Golden Abyss? I know I haven't.
I have.
The hell is Golden Abyss?
It's the Vita game.
It's a Vita game.
Oh,
it's
I didn't even know that existed.
The most high quality Vita game they ever made. Because that was back when Sony was promising AAA games in a handheld.
Yeah, that was.
Then they realized
that was Bend that made that one, right?
Yeah, it was Sony Bend, the people that made Days Gone. It was just the idea was just overly ambitious because the video was very strong at the time, and Golden Abyss actually plays very well for a handheld game. It looks like a PS3 game. It was very impressive.
Wow!
But there was no way other developers could match that level of quality. I think so. That's one of the things that killed the Vita.
But, I never liked the Vita anyway. I'll say it proudly.
So we truly have become an Xbox podcast. I see.
Yeah, this is a PlayStation podcast.
I don't care. The Vita sucks. It's uncomfortable.
You don't like the Vita. You didn't play PS1 games. You didn't play PS2 games. Like,
I played PS1 games. I played PS2 games.
The Game Pass podcast now.
I played loads of PS1 and PS2 games. But the Vita sucks. I will say it plainly. The Vita sucks.
Great.
It's terrible handhold.
I never played it. I had a DS. I never played it, so I will remain neutral on this moving train.
On the behalf of everybody on Vita Island, I apologize. On behalf
Leave the handhelds to Nintendo. Just don't do it.
I want a Sony handheld. PSP was one of the greatest things ever.
I'm so happy I
didn't have a PSP, so I can't speak to that. But the Vita is so ridiculously uncomfortable to hold. I don't like it.
Well, yeah, Golden Abyss. The story is like it's kind of like a prequel to the first game, but you don't really need to play it. Yeah, it was a good story though. Like, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I never played it, but they introduced like new characters and stuff. I think I played the demo for it.
Yeah, but you don't have to like. It doesn't like. I don't remember any big moments you have to know it like to connect to the overall story. Yeah. So, but yeah,
that's what you want to do. You don't want to have like a mainline title or something like that. Something you need to play on a handheld.
I'm surprised they never remastered it like on the PS4. Like
that will probably be good because they have done that as well, didn't they? There was that one. What was that game that they?
Oh, yeah, there's several.
Patapon, wasn't it?
Patapon, Gravity Rush. What's the other one? Tearaway. Those were all Vita games, and they put them on PS4. So I don't see any reason they can't put an Uncharted game on PS4.
Yeah, but I'm still waiting for them to port all the PS3 games to PS4. They need to do that at some point because they're just sitting there. They're just sitting there. You can't play them unless you have a PS3.
That's
true. Really, Smithy just wants to. James just wants to play Resistance.
I do want to play Resistance again. That's what I want to do.
Called it.
That's the only thing.
I know why, James.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice if we could finally like stop streaming PS3 games on PS Now and let us download some. They can figure out a way for us to download.
Yeah. I should just try PS Now again though, now that I have better internet. I'm sure it won't be as terrible as it was last time.
It still can be a problem though, streaming, because I have good internet and it's no problem. So
yeah, I'm not big on the whole streaming thing.
Yeah,
but that's a can of worms. Anyway,
yeah,
is that everything you've been playing, Dory?
Yeah, except for one other game, but we will get to that game later.
Okay. Well, what I've been playing is I talked about this a few episodes ago, but I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2. And I finished it again. That was my second playthrough. My second full playthrough. I had started it on PC and I never got very far. But yeah, that game. I think that game's a lot stronger in the second playthrough. when you know what's coming, because the way it's written, it sort of assumes that you know all the big sort of plot twists. Like it sort of assumes that you know how things are gonna end up, and it sort of writes around that. And I feel like if you know exactly where it's heading, you can sort of focus on other things that aren't these sort of plot twists, and that makes it stronger, and you can get more invested in the characters and everything like that. And also just the fact like the epilogue is like 10 hours long, which was a big sort of point of contention when it released. Everyone was like, "Oh no, it's too long! It's too long." Which is fair, but I feel like, and I was sort of certainly in that camp when I played it the first time. Like, the epilogue is a little on the long side. I think though on the second playthrough, it felt just right. It felt like just enough time to process the bulk of the main story, because I think the reason it felt too long in the first place was because nobody knew how long it was going to be. Everyone was expecting that ending before the epilogue to be like, okay, that's it, roll credits, we're done. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the missions I felt like filler though. I think they kind of dragged out the epilogue, in my opinion. Because I thought it was overly long.
How many times have you played it?
Just once. I've had, like I said last week. To me, it's a once in a lifetime like game.
Sure, that's the thing though. I felt the same after my first playthrough. I felt like, okay, there's a bit of filler in here, but I won't get into it fully for spoiler reasons, because there are like spoilery reasons why I think there are the missions that are in that game. But I think a lot of it ties back into the main story in a meaningful way, and I appreciate like the vast majority of those missions. Like I think half of them are for the sake of like having to be there to tell the story that they want to tell, which I can't get into for spoiler reasons. And the like another half of them are there to tie into the main story in a meaningful way that I appreciate. So I mean, yeah, I think just in general, the length is fine on the second playthrough. It really doesn't feel as dragged out.
Yeah. I mean, I do think you tend to have you tend to like those games better than I do, like
Sure.
in terms of like, because you like a slower pace than I do.
Yeah.
I pacing, like faster pacing. But yeah, I can't see myself playing it again personally, just because I have too many other games to play. But yeah,
Fair enough. It is a big game, yeah.
yeah. But I'm glad to hear that you had a good time replaying it, and you had a better time actually playing it.
Yeah. I think I'll probably replay it. I think it'll be one of those games that I replay once every couple of years, you know.
Yeah. Did you ever delve into like the online, or?
Yeah, I played quite a bit of the online actually.
Recently?
Not recently, but like when it came out, and a bit after it came out, when they started adding like the different professions and stuff you could do, that actually gave it some stuff that you could actually do. And I played a bit of it with my friends. We probably played about 10 or 15 hours of it, and then we got run out of town by the law. So yeah, that but yeah, I mean that was fun while it lasted. But it's not as, there's not so much content there as GTA Online. Like it's just not the same level as GTA Online to hold your interest.
Yeah, didn't they like essentially like give up on it, or they're not like focusing on it as much anymore?
It kind of feels like that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why, because it doesn't feel like they've put anything more into GTA. I think maybe just because like obviously they're working on another game, probably GTA 6.
I just think a 19th century like Western doesn't translate well into multiplayer like as much. So for the average person, they rather drive a car, jump in a helicopter, things like that, than ride a horse.
Yeah, I think the main thing is there's a lack of meaningful progression.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't mind like riding around in a horse and doing activities and stuff in that world with friends, as long as there was a reason to it.
Yeah, I just think the casual gaming audience probably not what they're looking for. I would imagine. I think they'd rather play the story and then be done with it. You know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like when you're playing the story, you've got the stories driving you through it.
Yeah, the story's amazing.
And like, you can do the story, and you can take breaks in between that and do the open world activities.
Exactly.
But when the open world activities are all there is, it's just not like you do a couple of them and then you're like, okay, I've had my fun.
They could have had they could have really had a multiplayer story, and that'd been cool to do with your friends. Like
they do have a little bit of that. There's story missions that you go through, but they're nowhere near as good as the single player story.
Do they have cutscenes and stuff like that? Okay.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
so it's basically think of like if you ever played GTA Online and they have like story missions in that as well. It's the same sort of thing, where it's kind of like the same style of story missions as the single player, but very disconnected from that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But apart from that, I've been replaying The Last of Us as well. I'm sort of just going through the greatest hits, I guess. My sort of favorite games, just because it's January, there's nothing coming out, so I'm just gonna take this opportunity, to have some comfort food.
What difficulty are you playing on?
I just
Tell
play
me
it.
it's
I,
ground.
I
Tell me it's
always play.
grounded.
I always play it on normal. I always play on
No,
normal
come
just
on.
because I just
You have
want
to
the
ground it.
story. I don't want a
No,
challenge.
no.
I just want the story.
Okay.
So yeah, no, but you know the interesting thing, because I've started The Last of Us Part 2 now. I haven't gone very far in it yet, but I finished The Last of Us, and the interesting thing to me, definitely at the start of that game, not so much towards the end, but definitely at the start, is the environments. They feel very they feel very canned. They feel very small. Like you can tell there isn't anything beyond the walls of the level. It feels like a linear path that you're just going through. There's nothing else. It feels
Sounds
like
like a set piece. Yeah.
it feels like you're walking through a Hollywood set, kind
Yeah.
of,
So. Yeah.
which I didn't notice before. But when I played it just this last time, that really sort of came through more than the other times I played it. The second game, in that like first level when you're walking through Jackson, doesn't do that at all. Like they do a good job of having it feel more
Yeah.
open ended. Like there's actually a town there.
Yeah. I mean, that's how all the Naughty Dog games really are. If you go back and play all the old Uncharted games and stuff, they're really just one like big set piece. You know what I mean? It's just recently they decided to do semi-open worlds now.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I'm gonna chalk it. I reckon I'm gonna chalk it up to the limitations of the PS3.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
probably
sure.
what it is.
Yeah, it's old now. It's like I don't know, 15 years now.
Yeah, they probably didn't have a lot of like memory.
No, it's 15.
They probably didn't
Yeah.
have like a lot of memory to build stuff outside of the perimeter to make it feel bigger. But yeah, that's my sort of small gripe with that game. It's still a fantastic game, of course.
Do you like the second one better?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I love the first one plenty, but
Okay, but like the gameplay, does the gameplay feel like very dated now that you play the second one, or does it still hold up?
it still holds up.
Okay.
It still holds up very well, actually. Like the AI feels sort of stupid at times, but not very stupid, like in some poorly made, like it's a poorly made game or anything like that. Just if there's been sort of advancements with AI that it doesn't
Yeah.
have, it
I
hasn't.
still laugh. I still laugh that they can't see Ellie, so she can like kill somebody right in front of the guy, and the AI can't see it.
Yeah, I replayed Last of Us not long before Last of Us 2 came out, and I felt like it was a little slow in parts, but I agree with James that overall I think Last of Us 1 still has good gameplay.
I agree.
And I still really enjoy it overall. But I also agree with James. I would rather play Last of Us Part 2 again than
Well,
The
part
Last
two,
of Us.
yeah, part two's gameplay is like arguably one of the greatest gameplays of all time. Like,
Yeah.
like they perfected third person shooter like mechanics and stuff. So.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
loop is so satisfying as Ellie, and it's just so good feeling to just like kill and then come back into the grass or whatever, or go all aggressive. I mean, it's just I think it's top notch. But
And
we've
to
talked
your
about that.
point, Seb, as well. Like about Ellie being able to like kill people without the other enemies sort of being alerted to it. There's an interesting detail in part 2 that they do that I really like, where it's like your AI teammates can get spotted, and then after the fight is over, they'll apologize if they get spotted. They're like, "Oh yeah, sorry about that. Whoops, my bad," which is a nice little
Yeah.
detail that I remember reading about. Like they wanted to put in the first game, but they ran out of time or something like that, and they couldn't put it in.
Yeah, I mean the little details in the second game is probably where the game shines the most. It's just crazy. Like even the AI have their own names and they call each other.
Yeah.
And like they feel sorry. They start sobbing for their friend, and it's just crazy. Like, and they play an Ubisoft game where they're all the children are ugly, and people just like they watch you stab somebody in the back and no one even reacts, and it's kind of funny how the quality between developers is.
And then even that's better than in Cyberpunk, where the kids are
They're all
just
miniature.
smaller adult models.
We'll get into Cyberpunk later. You'll see. But yeah.
Okay, I'm interested to see how we get to Cyberpunk from what we have here. But yeah, but other than that, that's all I've been playing this week, really. Apart from Hitman 3, which Dory you've also been playing.
Yes.
Now I want to start out before you get into your impressions. I want to start out by saying like this was a big leap for me. Like this was a big leap of faith for me buying this game full price, because
Oh man.
I really bounced off the first. I played the first hit. I had the first Hitman. I really bounced off it. I didn't like it at all, and it's hard to tell how much of that was the fact that maybe Hitman 3 is more appealing to me, or how
Mm-hmm.
much of it is the fact that like I just wasn't in the right mindset. And now
Mm-hmm.
this time, I knew exactly what to expect going in. I knew I had to have patience to play it, and
Yeah,
sort of it's a very you have to have a lot of patience and sort of go around and study your targets and that kind of thing.
yeah, before you jump into your impressions, Dory, like what is you both of your histories with the Hitman series? Like, is this your first time with the series, or have you played the older games? That's
I've
I'm
well,
gonna
I played a little bit of Absolution, and
okay.
I obviously I dabbled in Hitman 1 as well. Both of them I bounced off because I'm not really that good at stealth games. To be honest, I generally don't have the patience for them. I don't know, like I usually try and like kill the target as quickly as possible, and then it all goes
Yeah,
wrong, and then it's like, oh, what the fuck is this game? It's screwing me
yeah,
over here. Everyone's killing me.
yeah. I'm like a Viking. I'd rather just charge right in. I don't care.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but then
I
sorry, I but then the thing is, I don't know what it is with this game, but it's very much it's still slow, but I'm having a lot more fun with it. I'm
Hmm.
because I'm playing it properly, I guess. I'm just having the patience. But yeah, Dory.
Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, when mid 2000s, I played Blood Bunny.
Hmm.
And my then partner at the time had it on the PS2, and so I played it. I played it there. I really liked it. I remember. I won't. I guess I won't say too much specifically for spoiler reasons, but just I remember the ending sequence of that game being phenomenal. It takes place at a funeral. It's very graphic and gruesome. It's great. Um, and so that was my history. I don't think I played anything after that. I played that. I
Yeah.
forgot about the series until 2016. And then I was like, oh yeah, I remember playing that as a kid. And I didn't do it because like James, I am not super good at self games. And I don't have a ton of patience. And I'd
Hmm.
probably just rather play Doom Eternal than play a game
Yeah.
where I got to be super patient and wait all the time.
Yeah.
Um, Unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but unlike James, it wasn't as big of a leap for me because one of my friends was kind enough to buy it for me for complicated reasons that will that PSPremiere will eventually explain, I'm
Spoilers.
sure. Spoilers. But you'll see eventually. But anyway, a friend of mine was nice enough to buy it for me,
Oh, that's
which
nice.
was really great of them. And I have been having an absolute ball with it. It my first or second try
Oh,
on the first level absolutely went incredibly wrong, but I realized that instead of trying to save scum or anything like that, I would just go with it and
mhm.
see what happened. And I ended up still eliminating both targets,
Yeah.
but just a complete mess. I had to run out, get into the elevator, and as I'm getting into the elevator, people are shooting at me, and I'm barely making it out. It was awful, but I did it, and it was very fun, and I laughed the whole time. Hitman's very much a game. Um, Hitman's very much a game where I feel like the mistakes you make are just as much a part of the gameplay as the successes you have, and I think they're just almost just as important, if not more. I
Mm.
think they're so fun, and it just makes the game unintentionally or intentionally, I guess, at this point, because I think that IO knows what they're doing. But it's a very funny game in a very
Yeah.
morbid way, kind of a very Kafka-esque way. Like it's a very dark kind of humor where you have your target slip on bananas and fall off buildings. I mean, it's just absurd.
Well, that's the reason I asked you guys if you have a history with the series because I know these three games, they rebooted the whole series,
Yeah.
are tend to be more goofy because he can dress up in all different costumes and there's all multiple ways of assassinating somebody, and the other games tend to be a little more linear and very serious and things like that. This one goes for the more sandbox style of gameplay. So because I know some people don't like these games because they prefer the old school way of the series. Since you guys don't have as much as an experience with that, I was wondering if you guys were like the style a lot more than the previous style. That's
Yeah,
why.
I think it works. I mean, I'm this is not an unpopular opinion, but I think it works a lot better with this franchise than like a linear thing like Absolution or any of those other games. Like I think it works.
Yeah.
Like there's so many. It's a puzzle game basically. Where you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to take out these targets in
Yeah.
the most efficient way possible. And
Hmm.
what I really like is like the waiting around and stuff. In other games, if you were just following somebody around, that'd be boring. But in this, it's like the fact that you're studying them and waiting for an opening and that kind of thing. That adds a certain tension to it, and that sort of makes it more engaging.
Yeah, it punishes you for getting caught and stuff. Like,
yeah, so you need to sort of wait for your moment of opportunity. You can't go in there with a fire axe.
Yeah.
You know.
So
I mean, there are different difficulty modes. It's easier to do it if you're on the lowest difficulty, which I haven't tried. But I do think that Hitman's very accessible in terms of you can cause some element of a mess. I mean, you can just look at Leo Vader has a great video on his Watch Later series about killing a bunch of people in Hitman, or knocking them out, I think, with a banana, and just how much havoc you can cause with that.
That's a great video.
It's great. And like Dan Reichert and Leo, I just watched their stream like yesterday, and they both did these ridiculous challenges that both of them were almost able to, like, I won't say too much, but both had ridiculous challenges, and it was very fun, and they were able to do way more than you'd be able to think by exploiting various weaknesses with the AI. I mean, the AI is definitely dumb. I have only like almost 100% at both tutorial levels and the first level. So that's taken up a lot of my time. So I'm not even on the second stage yet of Hitman 3.
Yeah,
which I desperately want to be, because I know what's going to be there. I know it's like the Knives Out level, and I really want to be there. And I want to do a couple more things on the first level. So I was wrapping that up today.
So how is like the levels? Are they how large are they? Are they feel like open worlds, like semi-open worlds, or are they pretty linear?
They feel like they feel like the first two games, from what I've played with the first two games. It's very much the same sort of thing. I've only played Dubai, mind you, the first one as well, so I don't know. But it does. A lot of the times, it feels like a Where's Wally game. Like you're running about, like you're searching for one target, but there's also a bunch of like these side stories going on that you can find.
Right.
And that kind of thing, which is really, I think, interesting.
To you guys?
Wait a second, I'm confused. Is it called Where's Wally instead of Where's Waldo? I'm confused.
Yeah, it's Where's Wally.
In the UK, they call it Wally. We call it Wally.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You guys are weird.
Seb,
did you not know that you guys are weird?
You're weird. What the fuck?
What kind of a name is Waldo? Who's called Waldo?
What? I don't know. Don't ask me. I've never questioned that in my life, but I don't want to start now.
I've never found a person called Waldo in my life. I know plenty of Wallies.
Well, now I'm questioning everything, James, and I don't like this.
I don't think I've ever known a Wally at all.
I know plenty of Wallies.
I've never met one.
I'm sure.
I'm sure.
I bet you don't know a Waldo. Yeah.
Anyway.
Name one famous Waldo.
Where's Waldo?
A real person. Name a real famous Waldo. You can't. There are none. Anyway.
Somebody Google it, please.
I'm Googling it right now.
I guarantee there are more famous Wallies.
What about Ralph Waldo Emerson? Does that count? His middle name's Waldo.
I don't think that counts.
I think Waldo's a nickname anyway. I don't think it's a real name.
Yeah, I think
is it a nickname for Wally?
No,
Probably.
for Wallace. I think it's for Wallace.
Or Wallace. Wally is just short for Wallace. Anyway, I'm sorry, Seb. What is your question?
No, I was gonna ask you guys. Does it feel like a new game, or does it feel just like an add-on to like the first two games? Because it kind of looks.
It's hard to say, having not really played much of those other games.
But does it feel next gen, or does it feel like
it feels like more of the same, but it feels next gen in fact that it's 60 FPS.
Okay.
Which is nice. Also, what I like is that they have it's very smart of them to have the other levels available to purchase, like locked on the home screen. Because that really makes, in fact, I think once we're done here, I'm going to go and buy them. Which I never probably would have done with any other games. It's weird how I've done a complete 180 on this franchise. Like it was not for me at all, and now all of a sudden I'm thinking of buying all the content for it. So you played two levels.
So you like
that's also
okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's also been my experience with it. Is that I didn't have a ton of interest in it, and then a friend was nice enough to help me get this, and like now I'm like, damn, I don't know, maybe I want to go back and play Hitman 1 and 2. I don't know. Sometimes I verge from going like, wow, this is really amazing, to I feel like I'm doing slight variations of the same thing in just very different maps. But I don't know if that's good enough or not. Like I kind of swing wildly between those two positions. Sometimes I'm like really in the zone. I'm like, this is really great. Other times it feels a little menial or repetitive. But most of the time I'm having fun and I'm really enjoying myself, which is weird because
Well,
again, stealth games are not always my thing.
what I'm really excited to try is the elusive targets. I can't wait till one of them shows up. Because that's the thing, of course, where you have a target that only shows up once and you only get one shot at taking them out. And you sort of have
Yes,
to go with
Sean
the
Bean.
flow. Yeah. And you sort of have to go with the flow. You can't practice it. You just have to do it once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the funnest way you guys killed somebody without spoilers? Like, because people without context are not gonna get spoiled.
Yeah.
So what's the funnest?
I've only killed the targets in Dubai twice, and they were both very not funny.
No.
I suppose there was one funny way where it's like everything was sort of going to plan. I was doing this mission, this story sort of thing where you have to pretend to be this guy's bodyguard, and when you get an opportunity, you snuff him.
Yeah.
But what happened was there was this guy that I'd taken out earlier and stole his clothes as a disguise,
Yeah.
and as he was walking to do this sort of bodyguard training mission or whatever, with me as his bodyguard, he was sort of walking towards the place, and he found this body of this guy who was sitting there naked, and he ran over to him. He's like, "Somebody help!" And I just had to waste him right there.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of funny.
Dory, about you? Any funny?
Yeah, I mean, I've killed the targets on Dubai probably a handful of times. I mean, I think, I don't know, like one of the funniest ones I remember is one of the story missions is you can get both of them in their lockdown area. And I won't say too much, but just like it was funny because it was very serious. Like your teammate like gives them this big lecture about how evil and bad of people they are, and of course they don't care because they're evil and bad people. So so what does it matter? Why would you lecture them? But anyway, they give him this big lecture, and then he's like 47, finish him off, and I just fucking shoot one in the head, and then I just like I think I fiber wired or knocked out the other guy and then snapped his neck, and it was very simple, but it's just funny, like just how. I don't know. Like it's still one that came to mind to me in terms of like funny kills because it's very sudden and it's very suddenly there and then it's very suddenly over and it's just a very direct kill.
Yeah. I don't know. Speaking of that, actually, Dory, like I want to sort of gauge you on this because I don't know much about the story. Like I'm very lost in the story. I don't know what's going on. Sure. It's just 47 and this other guy sort of doing things and killing people. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Obviously, I'm very far in it. I don't know where it's going, but I'm getting big GoldenEye vibes from it. I don't know about you.
Yeah. I mean, I used to be a big fan of Bond, so I wish I could say I was also getting big GoldenEye vibes. But the only thing I don't remember a ton from GoldenEye. So,
well, you know how like 007 and Sean Bean, they're buddies and everything. They're taking out a base together or something like that, and it's kind of
right.
Yeah. But then spoilers for GoldenEye. If you haven't seen GoldenEye, go watch GoldenEye. But they turn on each other and everything. Like Sean Bean turns into a bad guy, and I'm getting those vibes from it.
Maybe I honestly could care less about the story. Every time I see any cutscene, I'm like, oh god, here we go. Yeah. Hitman's trying to be serious, but also completely not serious at the same time. It doesn't work for me. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's poorly written. I just couldn't care less. It's not why I'm playing Hitman.
I mean, the thing is,
right? Story.
I'm getting these GoldenEye vibes from it, but I think now I'll be really disappointed if it doesn't turn into a GoldenEye thing where the other guy turns on you.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it's heading that direction, but maybe it won't. I don't know. It
could be. I don't know. I think what's going on here is that, I mean, this is revealed right at the beginning of Hitman 3, so I really don't think this is spoilers, but they were, it's actually in Hitman 2, so it's definitely not, but they were childhood best friends and now they're working together to take out this shadowy organization. That's about as far as I got. I'm like, okay, cool, that's my motivation. I don't really need anything else.
What school did these guys go to where they trained them both to be hitmen?
I don't. Maybe they were just childhood friends who happened to go to school and then grew up and then grew. I don't.
That seems unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
So did this. This whole thing. Whole thing.
As somebody that's beaten the first 2 games, the story is an afterthought. Like it's just there. It's not really meant to. I don't think the games are really meant to have a great story. I think they're just
for sure.
I was under the impression that the story was a new thing in this one.
No, there's been a through line from 1 to 2 to 3, and so they take it somewhat seriously. But I think Seb's right that it's mostly an afterthought.
Yeah, it's really The point of the game is like just to have the sandbox nature of it. Because I asked you guys what's the funniest deaths because one of my favorite deaths in Hitman 2 was when you feed somebody to a hippo, and like it's a really great, it's a long drawn out process, but like it's probably the funniest death in these games.
Well, there's one that I really want to do in the Dubai level that I cannot figure out how to do, where you get them to evacuate the building, and you sabotage their parachutes. I really want to do that one.
That's how you do the parachutes one. Yeah, I can't figure out the. Yeah.
I cannot figure out how to do it. It's really tough.
I think the lockdowns require codes, and you get a couple codes from different security guards.
Well, it requires key cards, but I cannot find the key cards.
Oh, the key cards. Yeah, I got one of them somewhere, but I forgot.
I scoured the whole building and I could not find a key card. So.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't have any other questions.
But overall, I really like it. I don't think it's super graphically impressive, and the gunplay is not great. It feels very wonky, but that's okay. It's not a shooter. I don't, so I don't mind that. I'm really there just to have fun, mess around. I'm so excited for the second level of this game because I already know a little bit about what it's about. But I only play it once or twice for reasons.
Yeah, I'm very excited to play more of it myself.
Oh, so you guys didn't beat it yet? Neither of you.
No, neither. Probably because both of us are trying to do as many of the accomplishments as possible.
Yeah.
And so that's really slowing me. Plus, I've been playing a lot of Game Pass because, of course, we are a PlayStation podcast.
And I've been playing The Last of Us as well.
Yeah, because these games are pretty short. If you just run through it, you can beat it in like 6 hours. So
that kind of defeats the purpose.
Some of the speed runs are absolutely wild. Like I saw a video on highlight reel where somebody just like looked up, shot, got out of there, done in like 5 seconds. I was like, "Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous."
Yeah, because these games are made to be replayed multiple times. But let me know if that gets old to you guys after a while, because that got old with me to Hitman 2. I just got tired of doing the same thing over and over again.
For sure.
Sure. I feel like if I get tired of doing the same level over and over, I'll just move on to the next one, and that'll be fine.
Because my problem with Hitman 2 was some of the levels I just not care for. I didn't like the way they were designed. It was just too large. And there was one where you're in a crowd of like hundreds of people, and it just got really annoying to stealth that. So I just said fuck it and charged right in. And
I think you do have to have a lot of patience for it, because it's like I remember trying
ridiculous amount of patience though. The amount of patience that was like ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember trying this level in Hitman 1 where you had to go. There was like an underground base lab or something where they were making some chemicals. You had to destroy something in there. Yeah. And I just could not figure out how to sneak in there. So I just I had no patience for it whatsoever. So I ended up just going in there guns blazing and getting killed.
Yeah. So are you guys gonna try the mastermind difficulty or?
Probably not. Maybe at some point if I get really bored. But I'm
not gonna lie to you.
What I really want to try is the sniper assassin stuff, because that's right up my street.
I would love. I'm not usually into sniping. There's very precious few games that I like sniping in. Actually, ironically, The Last of Us is probably one of those. But I would love to do one from really far away and just get a headshot. I know there's a level in Hitman 2 where you can do that, where you can get up really up high, get a sniper gun. You can shoot, I think, either both the targets, one of the targets. The reason I even know anything about Hitman is because I watched Team 4-Star, the guys behind Dragon Ball Z Abridged. They did some Hitman 2 and Hitman 3, or Hitman 1 through 3, now 3. Let's plays that were really, really funny, and so I always watched them for like weekly. I love watching Hitman more than I love playing it, but I do enjoy playing it.
Yeah, I like in those games that you can like certain things in the level, so when you replay it, you can have like a gun sitting in the dumpster, or you can spawn a different location.
Yeah,
so it adds unique. It's very unique, because you can always like the levels, even though it's the same level, you can always do something different. You know what I mean? That's what I really like about it. But
for sure.
But it does get old after a while if you keep doing it. So I don't know. That for me, it did. It did get old after a while. So.
Yeah, and I do want to mention briefly that I've had a few connection issues. Like it tries to reconnect every now and then, and it fails momentarily, and it's a little annoying. Hopefully they fix that soon. I'm sure they will.
Yeah,
Did you have the same problem?
Similar issues. Okay. I've had similar issues, but not as frequent. But I've also not been playing a ton lately, so it's probably given IO enough time to fix their servers. So I don't have much to comment there.
So do you guys recommend this game, or
100%? Yeah, you just if you're gonna play it, you need to know what you're going into.
Yeah.
You need to know exactly what it is, because if you go in there thinking it's some action game where you go and assassinate people, you're not going to enjoy it because you're not going to have the patience for it.
But do you guys recommend it at full price, or do you think it's a game you should wait?
I'd say so, as long as you're willing to like replay it and do all the challenges and stuff. If you just want to go through the story, then absolutely not.
No, I agree with James. What James said.
Yeah.
There's a lot of replayability. It's probably the first word in replayability.
Okay.
But yeah, that's that, I guess. Now, Seb, we've been playing the demo for...
I'm really hyped for y'all to talk about this game because it sounds absolutely bonkers, right up my alley.
So basically, there's this game, there's a demo for this game, right, that we've both been playing called Balan Wonderworld. Now, this is some real Willy Wonka shit. So, Seb, if you were in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, how would you want to be killed?
I definitely want to fall in a river of chocolate. I think that's the way I'd go, for sure.
Understandable. Yeah. But
yeah,
what did you? In all seriousness, what did you take away from this demo? This is a really fucking weird game.
Actually, I think it's horrible. Like that game was it was horrendous, and I from what I've seen, the reactions this agrees with me. The animation's horrendous. It feels like a Dreamcast game.
It definitely feels dated, but I kind of dig it.
There's no double jump. There's no double jump. The platforming is like very dated. It feels like a game from 25 years ago.
But it feels like nostalgia mixed with some real weird shit. And I'm down with that.
But it feels so dated. Don't get me wrong. Like the aesthetic of it's great. Like the music's amazing. It's very Sega. I'm shocked that Square Enix made this and not Sega. This is very Jet Set Radio. Because all the characters are always like, dancing, like on Jet Set Radio. They're always like, the whole game. They never stop moving. And
I think everyone who played the demo collectively got to the cutscene with the dancing farmer and the musical number, and collectively went, "What the fuck is this?
What the hell?"
Yeah. So the farmer gets possessed, and then you beat the boss, and then they dance together, and that's how the demo ends.
Yeah. And also, during that level with the farmer is present, he appears in the level in huge form. He's very this big guy, just sitting there. It's very weird.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that you kind of like it, because it's basically like a cheap version of Mario Odyssey, because it's like you get costumes.
Yeah, but Mario Odyssey wasn't this weird, and I like weird shit.
No, it's the aesthetic's great. It's just like the mechanics of it's so generic. It's literally find a key, unlock the door, jump on a platform, break a box.
I get that. It might get old eventually.
It's stiff and stale. There's no running animation. Yeah, you just walk.
It might get old eventually. Basically, you jump in these fursuits and you get different abilities, and there's a bunch of different ones.
Yeah.
And I think if they have enough of those, they'll maybe vary, and then they keep throwing in new ones. It'll vary gameplay enough, maybe. It's weird though. Like every single button on the controller does the exact same thing. Every single button on the controller either jumps or attacks.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre.
This is a game I'd pay $5 for. I wouldn't. If you pay $60, I would not pay $60 for this.
Yeah, I don't know if I would pay full price for it either, but I definitely want to play it because it is the demos are so because the weirdness. I like the weirdness.
You know me. If I see a platinum rarity is 70%, I'll definitely play it just for the platinum. But other than that, this is a game I'm definitely gonna hard pass on. I think unless it's like $5 in the bargain bin, because this feels like it makes. I thought it was terrible.
What I noticed is it makes some interesting use of the DualSense features as well.
It did, yeah.
I like what it does with that. Like all the abilities do different things with the triggers and stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
I guess there's not much depth to it, but
although that's only the PS5 version.
So yeah, I gotta ask, as the odd person out here. I mean, I'm getting kind of Kingdom Hearts vibes, and
I was gonna say
I don't get Kingdom Hearts vibes. I got The World Ends with vibes, which is the same. Same thing, which is
Nomura did that as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say it felt kind of Kingdom Heartsy in terms of the gameplay and stuff. It's definitely the weirdest game I've played since Watam.
But the human characters, the main characters you play as, are shaped like Sonic the Hedgehog. It's literally Sonic the Hedgehog with a human skin. I'm dead serious. The same like big head and the arms.
I feel like both of you had like a fever dream and you decided to come on the show and talk about it.
That's exactly what happened.
I'm dead. This is literally
The opening-
Mario Odyssey,
the opening
Sonic
cutscene.
Hedgehog, Jet Set Radio.
It's great. Like the opening cutscene, you pick your character and then you walk into this sort of what seems like a deserted theme park or something like that. A deserted like magic show place, and this
He's
guy,
like Willy Wonka.
this Willy Wonka character is like
Japanese.
there, and he's speaking Japanese to you.
And
And
there's
it's
no
like, hey,
dub.
what's
It's all
up?
in Japanese.
Come and take some acid with me, and we'll go on this
Yeah.
weird adventure.
So you don't know what the story? Is there a story? I don't.
Well, it is subtitles, but it's in Japanese.
Yeah, the demo doesn't give much away in terms of the story. It's very like Willy Wonka on acid.
No, it's basically like Wonderland. Because Wonderland, like, not the Disney version's about drugs.
Yeah.
Smoking pot and stuff, doing mushrooms. It's basically that, but in Japanese. This is probably the most Japanese game I've ever played. Like, I don't even like there's like cute little like Digimon running around, and like, and every time the character like you complete a level, they do like a pose, like a very Japanese thing. They're basically doing like like,
Yeah,
it's kinda
it is exceedingly Japanese, definitely.
It's way too Japanese for me, and I love Japanese everything, but this is like beyond. This is like
Here's the note that I wrote down.
This
Dory.
is Japanese plus.
Dory,
Yeah.
here's what I wrote down.
Ultra.
Okay.
This opening scene basically feels like a whole game based on the premise of the Honey Bee Inn scene from Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh, but I love that shit. No,
But I actually like that. Yeah, but I actually like that.
But it's interesting, like you get back to the overworld where you pick
He's
the
right,
levels and everything like that, and you have these wee Kirby-looking things that follow you around.
They like
And
Digimon.
Yeah, and you feed them like crystals
Oh,
and stuff.
you know what they remind me of? You guys ever play Sonic Adventure 2?
That's what it reminds me of as well.
The
Like the wee
little
things.
chow, the little
yeah.
chow you take care of and stuff.
Yeah.
that's right.
That's what it reminds me of as well. I was gonna bring that up. I can't remember what it was called, but
Yeah, that's why I'm shocked that like Sega didn't make this game, because this is definitely like a game made in 2000 on the Dreamcast. This is a Dreamcast game made in 2021. I'm dead serious. Like this is the most
It's very
Sega game
weird.
I've ever played.
it's weird. Like it feels like it'd be great on portable, but apparently what I've heard is that the Nintendo Switch version is atrocious. But yeah, who knows? Anyway, I want to reiterate the scene with the farmer and the musical number is
It's funny.
the best shit. It's incredible. You should
Yeah.
play it for that scene alone. This demo, play it for that scene alone. It's
Oh, yeah.
really fucking bizarre.
And the game is like laughably easy. Like laughably easy. Like I didn't even try, and it was like the boss you just jump into. You like dodge him, slam.
Yeah, but
dodge
it's the first two levels, to be fair.
No, but that was definitely a janky boss where you jump into him and he gets hit, and he takes 3 hits and he's dead. Like,
Okay.
it was like
Isn't that Donkey Kong Country basically?
Yeah, no, because it's like way more like stale, like just janky. It's like it feels like a you know like those cheap games that have like a cheap hitbox. You kind of like
Yeah.
you don't even hit them, but somehow you hit them somehow. Like
Sure.
yeah, it just feels cheap to me. I don't know. I didn't like it at all. I was not happy with that.
No, that's fair enough. It is definitely lacking in some areas, but I'm excited to see what the final product looks like.
Yeah, the best part of that game was the CGI cutscene. That animation was great.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
That
like
was
this. I like the bonus levels as well, where you take control of the Willy Wonka kind of guy, and you have to press buttons in the right time, like a rhythm game. I mean, it's pretty basic, but still, I like it.
I'm usually not like super negative on games, but yeah, it didn't click with me.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I mean, you wouldn't buy it full price then?
I wouldn't buy it for like $20. I'd buy it for like $5 at the Walmart bargain bin.
My God,
I mean,
Dory, what were
Yeah.
you? Are you sold on the premise?
I mean, the Honeybee Inn thing and sounding a little like Kingdom Hearts piques my interest. I've vaguely heard of this series before, but I've never been really into it. Platformers aren't my thing, so I definitely not full price. But if like you did like a PS Plus thing, or like Seb said, if I saw this in the bargain bin and I had nothing going on else in my life, which is unlikely in terms of video games, like maybe I'd pick it up.
Yeah. Like if this game was like $10 and like I wanted like a 5-6 hour like 3D platformer, then I guess I wouldn't mind playing it. But if this game is like 30 hours or something, and it's $60, hell no.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, I love 3D. It's just one of my favorite genres, so it's not like I don't know the genre very well. Like I can tell a good one and a bad one, that's for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
Mario Odyssey, like,
I'm
strong
definitely,
gameplay wise.
I'm definitely more excited for this. To see how it turns out is very.
Yeah,
It
I
could be
mean,
it could be hit or miss, but
yeah, I'm open minded. If it gets good reviews, then maybe it's just the demo that's bad, but I don't know.
sure.
We'll see.
But yeah, check it. It's worth checking out the demo. Anyway, now
Yeah.
I want to move on
Sorry.
to. I want to move on now to the segment we're calling "Screenshot of the Week," where I show you guys a screenshot that I found this week, and you
Is
can
it
tell me what
blue?
you think of it. So there it is in the lounge right there.
Is it blue?
It's not
No,
blue.
it's gray. It's got so
What-
much gray.
Yeah.
Look at all that.
Wow, that's great.
Okay.
That's great.
Right now,
That's a great-
the
that's a
next
good one.
item on the agenda is that the PlayStation Plus games for February have been announced. Now we already knew Destruction All Stars was going to be the PS5 game for February and March, which it is. Also, we're getting Concrete Genie, which is okay. This is a decent game. I bounced off it.
I've been wanting to play it, so I'm excited.
I have the platinum. Totally recommend it.
Nice.
I wish I didn't bounce. It seems like such a me game as well, and I totally bounced off it, which is so annoying.
Well, I don't want to go on a tangent, Dory. It's just that like, it's like fair. It's very easy. Like if bullies
Sure.
catch you, like you don't get punished or anything like that, and it's just like it's kind of like the
I
same.
think he gets thrown in the dumpster or something, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like,
saw
the
a
whole game is
review.
basically that. It's just, is painting the walls and
He doesn't
stealth.
even get put in a locker. I mean, really, what is it even worth?
Yeah, the whole game is painting the walls and then sneaking by the bullies. That's the whole game.
In a
Gotcha.
weird way, it reminds me a
Great.
little bit of that. In a weird way, it reminds me of that little PS3 game, Naughty Bear. Did you guys remember
Naughty-
that one?
It sounds very familiar. Is that the one
Like,
that
you play as a teddy bear and you go around stabbing other teddy bears.
Oh,
Is it-
yeah.
I know that game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I recently saw that on like a Watch Mojo list or something.
Yeah.
I remember being so excited to pick that game up, and then I only played like 2 levels of it when I got it because it was so rubbish. It was a terrible game.
But the Concrete Genie, the animation on the walls is like really fun. Like it's really cool. I really
The
love
painting
it.
on the walls and stuff, yeah.
It's so good, creative and stuff. I like the story. I like the whole like. I like the bullies' backstories because it does get in their backstories, and I like the whole theme about friendship and family and things like that. But it's pretty generic in terms of like little shadow thing comes in and makes everything gray, and you have to paint the colors to brighten the city. It's pretty generic, but it's a nice like 10-hour game. It's just a nice,
Well-
friendly, relaxing 10-hour game.
For as much as I disliked it, I did like the whole tone of it. It felt very sort of light and uplifting.
It did, yeah. That's why I like. That's probably my favorite part of the game besides the creativity.
Yeah, and that's coming for PS4. That's the PS Plus game for PS4, and also for PS5 and PS4. We're getting Control Ultimate Edition, which was a bit of a surprise. I'm excited for that,
Especially
even
since
though I
I bought
played
it,
Control.
I couldn't get a refund.
You bought it?
I bought it like in November and I couldn't get a refund.
Oh
so
no.
I only bought it for like $20, so no
Oh,
harm
well.
done. But yeah.
Yeah, but that's gonna have the DLCs in it, right?
Yeah.
Which I've just realized now on air, and I'm very excited for that because I haven't played the DLCs, but I did want to, and I'm glad I didn't buy them.
Yeah.
I bought the first DLC, not the one that had the Alan Wake crossover, but the first DLC. I thought it was absolutely awful. I didn't like it at all. I bounced. You want to talk about bouncing off? I bounced off that after 2 hours. I thought there was no good checkpoints. The enemies were needlessly difficult. The objectives weren't very interesting, and there wasn't a ton of story content. And so I just like bounced off it after like an hour or two of trying to get through it. I was just like, this is just not good. But yeah, I've kind of soured on Control over time. But I still like the main game all right. But I think it's overhyped.
Yeah, I never played it. I was waiting for the PS5 version. So.
It's
Yeah.
weird. I think I might replay it just because that first time it didn't click with me right until the very end, and so I think maybe if I play it again it'll click with me sooner because now that it has clicked with me, I don't know. It's worth trying again anyway. But I do want to play the DLCs. Do we know if the progress carries over from the base version to the Ultimate Edition?
That would be nice,
I don't think so.
but
that's
I
a
doubt
shame.
it.
It's a remaster, so it's like it's not a totally different game, but it's like kind of. Well, I mean, I guess you could do it because Spider-Man did it on the PS4 to PS5 version. I mean, they did it like a couple weeks
After the fact.
After the fact, yeah. But I think they could do it if they really want.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Destruction All Stars. There was also they released a state of play for Destruction All Stars along with the announcement of the PlayStation Plus games. You guys watched it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Uh,
You excited?
I wasn't excited, but I'm definitely gonna try it. I mean, it's free, so why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Generally, my attitude.
yeah, like, but it looks. What does it remind me of? Rocket League, maybe. But like, you can get out of the car and. What's the other game?
Twisted
why am
Metal.
I Twisted Metal? I was
Oh,
like, I was
Twisted
looking it up. I was forgetting the name of it, and I was like, a console PlayStation. Yeah, it's like Twisted Metal, the game that we. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
Sony abandoned
it's
the
like
series.
it's like Twisted Metal, but
Mixed with Rocket League, mixed with. I don't
yeah,
know.
it kind of has
Burnout?
that. It kind of has that aesthetic that all it feels like. It feels like it has
No,
that
not
aesthetic that it feels like all games, all free to play games have now, where it's like
Yeah.
very futuristic and weird like that. And
Very,
all the characters are very eccentric and kooky and stuff.
Yeah,
I
I
was-
think they. Go ahead.
Oh, I was very whelmed, to quote Robin from Young Justice. Very whelmed. I was just like, this looks okay. I'm sure some people like it. I only have a PS4, so it's literally and figuratively not for me. But so I mean, it looks okay. The only thing that really grabbed my attention was the amount of mobility that the drivers had when they jump out of the car. They can do wall runs.
That's the cool stuff. Yeah.
You can use that to save yourself if like the floor from under you gets taken out, but you can like vault over stuff and run to the wall and then jump off, so you make sure you don't. Like I thought that was kind of cool, but like everything else, I was like, I feel like I've seen this a million times before. But it's cool that it's free, and I hope that people who like this kind of game enjoy it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dory, I don't know if you heard, but PlayStation's actually updating their slogan, so now it's gonna be PlayStation Power to the people who can afford PS5.
Oh yeah, actually, I like that slogan a little better because it's a little more accurate. Appreciate them changing that. Thanks, Mark Cerny. I don't know. I don't know if Cerny actually has any control over their slogan. He just
controls their ears.
I just think of PlayStation. I just think of Mark Cerny.
Cerny's the executive in charge of ears.
Isn't the slogan different in the different regions though? Like, isn't the European one totally different than ours?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
I think it is. I think the PS. I know the PS4 is different because ours was great with the weights. I don't think yours was that.
I think they just changed it. I think it used to be like power to the players, and now it's greatest weight store.
I thought that was GameStop. Wait, I thought that was GameStop.
Yeah, power to the players is GameStop.
Is it? Oh well, that ruins my whole joke, doesn't it?
No, they don't. They have. You guys have EB Games, right?
Well, us.
Used to. Oh.
No, that's Canada.
We have a store called Game, but all capital letters. It's just Game.
That's an awful name. I thought
that's
GameStop
a fantastic
was okay.
Game.
That's a fantastic name for a game store. You know what you're getting.
Fantastic game.
You guys want to call it video game, like.
It sounds literally like a video game store that would be in a video game. It's called Game. It would be in Yakuza. It would be a Yakuza video game store.
That's what makes it so good. We still have one as well called Game Station, but they got bought by Game. So now Game has no competitors in the UK. It's all just Game.
I get typing GameStop and GameSpot. I always kind of make sure I type.
So James, would you say that the people in the UK that they've got Game?
Yes, I would say that. I would absolutely say that.
But yeah, you know what I've noticed about the industry, like the last 5 years, the industry's obsessed with like this electronic dance music aesthetic. Like,
yes,
all these characters are always like retro with the headphone ear thing. Everybody's like a DJ. It's like I've noticed like every indie game now has like the same.
I feel like that's the Overwatch effect.
Yeah, the Overwatch effect. Or Bleeding Edge and this one.
Hyperscape. Yeah.
It's just it kind of just I don't know. It kind of feels generic.
Yeah, it definitely does feel generic at this point.
It was so smart to make this game free. Well, not free, with a Plus membership. Because this game would definitely bombed with $70. Especially putting that game back in November with Demon Souls and Miles Morales and stuff. There's no way in hell people were going to buy this game for $70. So, yeah, this was a very smart move on Sony's part. Because you never know. I mean, I think it looks generic, but I don't think it looks bad. I think it looks quite fun. It's just something I'm going to stick with for like more than 10 hours. I don't know. We'll see. But
10 hours might be generous, even.
Yeah. But even that, but it might have the Fall Guys effect. It might be like a huge hit.
It might be. I don't think anyone's played it yet to give impressions. Because I know when Fall Guys was coming out, people had played it at events and stuff, and were saying like, "Hey, this is fantastic. This is going to be."
Well, I mean, like the audience, not so much journalists. I just mean like.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So
But like we knew before the fact with Fall Guys that it was probably going to be a hit. With this one, who knows?
Yeah.
Because nobody's played it.
So, yeah.
It looks interesting enough. I was expecting it to just be like a vehicle combat arena game, but the fact that you can get out of the vehicles and do stuff like that, it seems interesting.
I just hope we can like. I guess you can play as characters, but I would like if we can like make our own character or at least customize the characters and a lot more and do our own style. I'm sure you can do that. I would be cool if you can customize your own character.
Does anyone else's like body, like whole body tense up when game like the people behind games like start talking about cosmetics and stuff? Like I just start like getting really nervous that they're about to say, and you can buy them with $5, like use your money.
They're not going to say that. They know better at this point. What they're going to say every time is, no, these are not pay to win. No, you cannot get these in loot boxes. They're going to say stuff like that to reassure you. That's becoming a cliche now.
Yeah, well, I'm a '90s gamer, so I remember when you used to unlock things.
Back in my day.
Back in my day, we didn't have to buy items; we didn't unlock them.
Old man yells at Cloud.
What did Cloud ever do to you? Yeah. No, I remember that. I miss.
Go ahead.
I miss when multiplayer games had some form of progression like that, like the old Call of Duty games, like Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops. I feel like that's the main reason Call of Duty has never been as good as it was back then, just because the progression is all tied to loot boxes and battle passes and all that bollocks.
The main core of any video game is progression. If you can't progress in the game, it gets frustrating because you're just doing the same thing all over again. Progression is what drives us to keep playing a game. That's why RPGs are so popular. You know what I mean? So
exactly. So that's maybe going to be okay. We'll see. But now, let's move on once again and talk about 2020. You guys ready to talk about 2020 again?
It's gonna be a heated conversation.
Oh.
I'm ready to talk about 2020. I don't want to leave it behind just yet, but we'll leave it behind after this one. I swear. This is the last.
It's the 29th of January, so we
have to. We're legally obligated to after January's over.
It has to be the last one.
It's the 30th when this goes up, yeah. So we cannot do 2020 after this. So we're not going to do 2020 after this. We're going to push this out. So we're going to talk about the most disappointing games of 2020. I don't think there was a lot of disappointment in 2020, to be honest. I think everything was mostly.
Says the guy with 7 games, and me and Dory have.
Some of these are a stretch though. I'll be honest.
Right.
Dory, why don't you kick us off?
Sure. I thought of another game. So I'll say that for a second. So the first game I want to pick is a little indie. It is really an indie game. I'm not even saying a little indie game to be ironic. It is an indie game. It's called When the Darkness Comes. Now, this is a free game on Steam, so I tempered my expectations thusly. But it had mostly positive reviews. It was tackling mental health, which I think is always really important for video games to do. So it's not like, get that out of my video games or whatever. So here's what I said. I played this back in July. I can actually see it due to my Steam review. I said this game has an incredibly frustrating segments where you can barely see. The platforming is inhospitable to say the least, and wildly inconsistent in one chapter it occurs. And overall, the themes of the game didn't strongly resonate with me as a person who suffers from depression and anxiety. I know this game is free, and I try to temper my expectations, but this game is better at teaching people patience with bad game design more than anything about mental health. I couldn't recommend this game to anyone. Sorry. It had this section where you could barely see what's in front of you, and basically what happens is you have to jump from block to block. And, there's all these metaphors about going towards the light and embracing like other people in your life and stuff like that. And some of the messages are nice, but they're just so hampered by the absolute lack of, and I understand it's a free game, but absolute lack of budget in this game. The only thing I saw that was even moderately spoopy or like relatable for me as someone who has social anxiety is like there's a section where you see lots of people and like the way that they're presented is very striking despite the small budget. Like I don't mind indie games. I don't mind small budgets, but I just feel like this one did not
Yeah.
take advantage of whatever it had. It's the platforming section, honestly, for me that killed this game. And I pushed myself to get through it, which I shouldn't have, because I got so frustrated. I was playing this at work actually, but I had an overnight shift, so it didn't matter. No one else was there.
Mhm.
But it was absolutely infuriating, and I
Yeah.
hated the game. And I was very disappointed because it had mostly positive reviews. I checked out the reviews first. I was like, okay, should I spend my time with this? Like, all right, I think there should be more mental health messages in video games. This is great. Let's give this a shot. It sucked.
No, not to go like on a tangent, but like, what's a good example of a game that did a great job tackling like on top of your head, like
Oh
really
gosh.
just really quick.
Yeah. I feel like the Life is Strange series does a really good job with that. I know some of we talked about this earlier, but some of the dialogue can be hacky and corny. But I really feel like Life is Strange as a series does a really good job with mental health in ways that I often don't see from video games. I really appreciate Life is Strange in that way. There are probably other better games that do a better job of that, but Life is Strange is one of the first that came up.
Yeah. Are there any games?
I feel like there's
James?
I feel like there's one on the tip of my tongue that does a good job of that, but I can't quite remember what it is. I know there is definitely
Sea Solitude was a good one.
Sea Solitude. That must be it. Yeah, that was
That
very good.
That was about depression. Yeah.
I did a good job of that. I think maybe it's not really about the mental health issues per se. It's more about relationships and stuff. But I feel like it's in that vein. Florence does a really good job of that kind of thing, of tackling those kind of issues. But yeah, that sounds disappointing.
Yeah.
Seb, what have you got?
Well, I'm gonna say Dreams.
Here
No, you're not.
we
No, you're not.
Here we go.
All right, Dory, what have you got for us next?
First of all, Dreams should have been a PC game. I think it's not really a console game to me. Like I would have made the game 100 times better. You could have a lot more better mods, a lot more customization. Because even the creative levels, because I play a lot of people's games and stuff, they still have this like same claymation look to it. It's like even though some of them were really impressive, like the scenes they've done and things like that. At the end of the day, a lot of these games have like the same animation, same like look to them, because I haven't seen anything that looks like hyper realistic in terms of like the character models and stuff. The only times I've seen overly like super realistic stuff or like custom scenes that people made, not actual games. So so the whole game is like mini game, and then like the customization didn't click with me at all.
If I can interject, sorry, I know that there is at least one sort of team of people working on like a realistic visuals game in Dreams, but I said that stuff takes time, of course. So
I'll check it out. Yeah. But I'm just saying what I've seen, and then but the one thing I did like about it, I really liked was the story, the story mode they had, the little story with about a musician trying to get his like mojo back.
Stream, yeah.
I really love that. I really dig that.
It was great.
But yeah, I just expected more. I don't know.
But I think it works so well as like a YouTube for games,
Yeah, I just thought like I tried people's games. And a lot of the games just feel they're different, like the way they play, but the look of them it just has like this claymation feel to all.
Yeah, I get that. Sure.
Yeah, so
I think it'll probably take time for people to break out of that because that is like the default art style. But I think you can change that and make it look different.
You can. I'm just saying, like the only time I've seen like more different looking games is when it's like a scene, not like a game itself. The games all seem to have the same. But I don't even really want to put this on a disappointing list because I didn't really expect much, I guess you could say, from this game. Sure. I thought my expectations were pretty reasonable. I probably think I was gonna love it. So I don't know if I can really. I don't know how I feel about putting on a disappointing list because I don't.
I think you should feel bad. I think you should feel very bad.
I don't feel bad. I just don't feel strongly about it, like I do the other game I'm gonna mention. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't. So I'm disappointed, but I didn't have a ton of expectations, I guess. So
I've got some different things on my list. So I've got some games that were genuine disappointments and were not good games, and I've got some games that were disappointing because they didn't meet my sort of tastes, even though they were probably good games. I'm going to kick off with one of the ones that was genuinely a bad game, and was actually disappointing for that reason. And that is, of course, Resident Evil 3. Hugely disappointing
All
game.
right, so I'll see everybody
Absolutely
later.
terrible.
Here
It
we
was
go.
not good.
How can I drop this call? How can I ban James? Block him, I meant.
The thing is, I'm somewhere like half with you and half with Dory, because I do think there's a lot of disappointing elements of the game, but I don't think it's a bad game like you think. I think it's a good game. I just think it could have been a great game, but it's not. I think it's stuck.
What I've said before about it, and I will repeat now, is as if they took Resident Evil 2, the remake that was so good, and they took every single thing that was good about that game and just yanked it out, and that's what we have left is Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
It's
So
terrible.
I'm with you on that aspect. I do think, because to me, like I said on multiple podcasts, Resident Evil 2 is the remake is the perfect survival horror game that I want. Like they perfected everything I'm looking for from a survival horror game. And then 3 yanked it all out and made it an action linear game. And instead of the cool like Mr. X element where he stalks you the whole game, they just made Nemesis a set piece. Like he only shows up in specific moments, which really disappointed me. And then they go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I thoroughly disagree with James. We've been over this a million times. I will just say, I played the original. I liked the original back when I was younger. I kicked my ass all the time. I don't know how I enjoyed it, but I did enjoy it. And so given that context for me, I really like, just to respond specifically to your thing, Seb, is I really like Nemesis as a set piece. I didn't need him to be there at all times. I would have found that really annoying. That's actually one thing I didn't like about Resident Evil 2, is I eventually got super annoyed with Mr. X. Is like I found him really tiring and tedious eventually. I saw him as more of an annoyance and something that just was getting in my way than something that, at first I thought he was scary. I thought, don't get me wrong, I was intimidated as hell. I thought his design was great. No shots at the developers for any of that. But I think as time wore on, especially as I went into my second playthrough with a different character, I was just like, this isn't doing it for me. I've already gone through this experience with Mr. X. I don't find him as intimidating anymore. He's definitely still intimidating.
Yeah.
It's not that I found Nemesis much more intimidating because they used him so sparsely that for me, and I know I'm in the minority here, even among Resident Evil fans, I'm probably in the minority here, but that's okay. It felt like they really made it count, and I was really intimidated and scared because he didn't come out unless shit was really getting real, and so that's how I felt about Nemesis and RE3.
Yeah, that's not a bad point at all. I mean, because when they announced the remake of the third game, I was wondering how the hell, because in the original game, he runs full speed at you. He opens doors. He jumps through windows. I was like, how are they gonna do that in this game? Because the style is not made for an AI to like run full speed at you like that. You know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, and he does run full speed at you, but just every so often.
Well, every so often, and then usually he like does a tentacle move and you can dodge or whatever. Like he doesn't like constantly run. Like Mr. X doesn't run full speed at you. There's a reason why he walks, because if Mr. X was running at you, the game would be almost impossible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So I was wondering how the hell they were going to pull this, and then obviously they had to make him like a set piece. But at the same time, with that said, I actually do like the cinematic feel to the game, because I think it was really high budget. It was very fun to watch, like Raccoon City being chaos. I really love the scenes with Nemesis, and because to me though, even though it's disappointing in the sense that it doesn't live up to the second game for me, it was still a really fun like 5 to 10 hour game. Like it was a nice, because sometimes I just want a game where it's just like I can just sit down and enjoy like a linear game. You know what I mean? I don't want every game to be such a giant open world game all the time. So in that sense, I really enjoyed it, because the first like 20 minutes of that game I absolutely loved, and so yeah. But they took out the clock tower, which disappointed me. That was a big section of the original game. They took out the choice system, which was a big part of the third game.
Yeah.
So I just wish they took, like I said before, I just wish they yanked the multiplayer and just focused on the single player.
I agree with that. I think my biggest criticisms are the multiplayer, which should have been put into the main game, and number 2, this should not have been $60 or whatever. This should have been like $40 game easy.
Totally agree.
Like I think it was overpriced, although I think it's at a better price now. I haven't kept up with it. I bought it at full price because I really wanted to play it, but I once I did beat it, I was like, damn, that was not $60 worth of content.
Yeah, but the thing is, the original game was an action game too, because Jill has so many weapons in that game. So
For sure.
that game, and it had a dodge button in the original game too as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it didn't work that well,
For
but
sure.
it was in there. Yeah, it was more of an action game because Resident Evil 3 was originally a game. It wasn't.
I've seen a speed run of the original, and there's a lot of RNG, and you have to really time the
It's very
dodge
hard to
very
speedrun.
well.
Absolutely, because there's a lot of random. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah,
Okay,
so
so
I'm like halfway with both of you, I guess.
okay, so
Yeah.
I'm glad we're all on the same page that Resident Evil 3 sucks and should be excluded from video games until the end of time.
No, it's a good game.
Every copy of it should be burned and buried with ET,
Who made this-
wherever they
who made
buried
this
that.
guy the host? Can we think about
I want a refund. Seb,
Yeah.
can we get you back?
It's a bad game. And moving on.
All right, James, what's your
Dory,
next one?
What have you? Well, that was
Sure.
my
Oh,
last one.
my
So
next
what have you
one.
got?
All right, it's my time to be controversial. I don't think it'll be controversial with this crowd, though.
Wait,
I
no.
was really what?
James. Journey's overrated. Dreams.
No,
overrated.
no. We're not doing that. Journey did not come out last year. We're not doing that.
What's that studio? Annapurna, whatever they're called.
Annapurna, yeah.
No,
overrated.
Journey was that game company.
I'm just playing.
All right, the only other game I can even think of that was disappointing. I played mostly games that aligned with my taste, and so I didn't have a ton of disappointing games.
Me
There
too.
weren't a ton of huge risks that I really took this year. But one thing I did is I fell into the trap of viral games that people really loved. And no, it's not Fall Guys. It is Among Us. I was kind of disappointed with Among Us. I forgot that I don't like lying to people, and I'm not good at it. And so I just sucked at it. Like whenever I played it, and I only played it a couple times, to be fair. This isn't anything against the developers or Among Us as a game. It's just as social deception games as a genre, I just can't get into because I'm so bad at lying. Like even with my own partner, who I feel like at this point I should be good at playing like harmless jokes on or something. I'll usually crack up because I'm just not good at like even white lies or anything.
It's
And
not a bad trait. It's not a bad.
yeah,
trait.
it's not, but it makes social deception games hard for me because I'll have to stay quiet.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I ever got away with being the one who was sus because I was quiet and I didn't say anything and no one asked me any questions. But I was like, but then I'm not really playing Among Us at this point because where's the chat aspect? That's the major aspect of the game. So I mean, I love that everybody got so into this game, and I love that AOC did her stream and shit like that. But it just wasn't for me, and I was a little disappointed because it's like, damn, I really wanted to play this with everybody and get into it. But I'm like, I just know I'm not going to have fun. And also the servers when I was playing were really buggy. I kept getting kicked. So it just wasn't fun in that respect.
Would you play it on Steam?
No, I played it on my smartphone because you could play it anywhere. So I just played on my smartphone, which is one of the very few times I've ever used my smartphone for a game.
Did you voice chat or did you type?
I think we were using Discord to voice chat. So okay. I think I was using it with friends. I never would play it with strangers. Same thing with Fall Guys.
You can't play that game with strangers, I don't think.
Yeah, it'd be really tough. So yeah, Among Us was slightly disappointing for me. When the Darkness Comes was way more disappointing, but I wanted to be a little controversial and add Among Us.
Yep.
Sure, and that's the only apart from Dreams, that's the only controversial item on this list so far. I think we can all agree. Everything else is a slam dunk.
Sure.
You'll get over it.
You got a second one?
I got
is slightly more appropriate than Dreams, which was not disappointing.
Another one that Dory will agree with. Although she dislikes it way more than I do, but I still think it was very disappointing and mediocre. Which was the Destroy All Humans remake.
That's right. That's also on my list. I forgot about that game. Yeah. God. Okay, we can both talk about it, but go.
Yeah. It was so disappointing. You blanked it out.
That's right.
I beat it twice. I played it on Steam, and then I got the Platinum on PlayStation. I enjoyed it more the second time, but I knew what to expect. But yeah, it feels like an old, dated PS2 game. The animation's janky. The storyline is forgettable. It's just like it feels like a game out of 2005. The gameplay loop gets very boring. I think the mission structure of the side missions, like the little like challenges, are very tedious and overly challenging. They're very unforgiving. The side challenges are way more challenging than the actual game. Like it's just like ridiculously unforgiving. So yeah, so that's and then, yeah, and they could have really improved on the really fun aspect of like a sandbox playing game where you get to blow up cities and shit like that. But they just remade it shot for shot. That's basically the game.
So I mean, if anybody wants, you can check out my review for it. I really just like this.
Score it? Do you remember?
I scored it a 4 out of 10, I think.
That's horribly low.
I gave it like a 5.5, 6. So it's mediocre to me.
So I loved this game as a kid. I played this on the PS2, so I have lots of fond memories for it. I was the perfect audience for it. I was hyped. I was hyped for it. I was excited for it. So it's not like I was coming into this game with bad expectations, bad intentions, anything like that. I wanted this game to be good. I was excited to play it, and it sucked. And that's actually probably number one, most disappointing game of the year for me. I won't go into it too much, but I wish they had emphasized more that if you're going to face the final boss, you should be doing the side missions. Just emphasize it. Just say, hey, exclamation mark. Just say, hey, maybe try doing some more side missions before you do this boss, because it is miserable. It is awful. It is Dark Souls-esque. I'm not even memeing.
It's really impossible,
it is almost impossible. I got so mad. The graphics at first glance seem really cool.
In the beginning,
they seem really cool, but I think down the line it just looks really plastic and weird and like very just very bad. I think the controls are good, but I think my favorite thing about the game is the skateboard that you can eventually be on, because the movement is so fluid, but eventually it goes away, just like the rest of this game and anything good about it. So it's like there's good things in here, like the gunplay is all right, but it's just like they put a fresh coat of paint on it and then called it a day. And there's I just
think it's very unforgiving. Like even the story missions, like they expect you to like sneak by these guys, and someone always, and it's just like, you told me someone to go here, catches you, like you get detected way too easy, and then you gotta retry, and then you gotta go sit through a loading screen, and it's like 20 times, and like there's one mission you have to guard the truck, and there's like they're throwing rocks at the truck. You know what I'm talking about when you have
the I know that was really frustrating. I had to redo that like 5 times.
Yeah, there's mines every. It just feels like a very dated game.
And the thing I was most looking forward to was, like Seb said, destroying the cities. Destroying all humans. I know, what a big ask from this game, right?
And PS4, you can do so much more with it.
But it's just so uninteresting, and it's just the buildings all collapse in the same way. People have all the same reactions that they did in the 2005 game. Yeah. It's just not good, and I hope they don't remake the second one.
Yeah, and you can't even enjoy like destroying the city because there's fucking missiles shooting at you every 5
minutes. Yeah, and so
you're always constantly trying to get health because you're always on the verge of dying, like constantly. It's very hard. It's challenging game, overly challenging.
It's an overly challenging game. It doesn't need to be.
It's so bizarre because it seems like THQ Nordic's whole business model at this point is taking old franchises that everyone's forgotten about, reviving them, and then hosting AMAs on 8chan. And it's like
weird marketing strategy, right?
What are they doing?
Although I hope this is an obscure reference, but I really hope you guys ever played Stop the Zombie? I would love a remake of that.
I've heard of that. Yeah,
it's in the same vein. It's the same vein as Destroy All Humans.
Never heard. Yeah. Well, anyway, shout out to Mark. So let's see what I've got here next. Yeah, so let's go with, there was this indie game called The Red Lantern. Now, basically this game where it's got Ashley Birch playing the main character, and based on the trailer, it seemed like it was going to be this cool story-based game where you're playing as this character and you go and get these huskies and stuff, and you go sledding. Ooh. And it's a feel good Friday, whatever. It didn't turn out to be that way at all. It was very survival based, very focused on that gameplay that I hate. I hate that kind of gameplay. So maybe it was my expectations going in that made it so disappointing for me. But it was very focused on like the survival gameplay more than the story, I think.
Yeah, I mean it only has a 64 on Metacritic.
Yeah, which is fair enough. So the thing is, as well, even if I did like survival gameplay like that, it's just depressing because you go out and every time you go out, you risk your dogs getting killed by a bear or something, and like it's just, your dogs get hurt by you can jump in front of the bear, sure, but like then you die, or the horse,
Yeah.
the dogs still get hurt, and it's like it's just this whole nerve-wracking sort of experience of like, oh, I don't want my dogs to get hurt. I'm gonna, and then when they do, it's like, oh, I'm depressed.
Yeah.
So it was not an enjoyable experience for me at all. So that was a big disappointment for me. I don't know if you guys were interested. Were either of you interested in this game? Sort of.
I don't even know what it's about or what it
Read
is.
about it. But look
Yeah.
on the gameplay I'm seeing, I'm not. It's not something that I'd probably click with. So
I don't like survival games either, so I doubt I would have liked it.
yeah, I don't.
No.
Survivor series, I don't. Genres, I don't like.
That's the thing. I didn't think it was going to be so heavy on the survival stuff. I thought it was going to be more story based, which is why I was excited for it, because I like a good story. But oh well, that's a shame. Have you guys got anything else? Dory, have you got anything else?
I have a couple. Actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's it. I think those are my three most disappointing games, with Destroy All Humans at number 1, When the Darkness Comes at number 2, and Among Us at number 3.
Seb, what about you? What you got?
I was gonna say the Avengers, but I didn't. My expectations weren't that high to begin with, so I guess I can't say the Avengers.
That's that would have been on my list. If I wasn't kind of in some way rooting for that to not be good.
Yeah, but at the same time, it could have been so much better than it was, and they should have way more content and characters by now than they've had.
I feel like now I've said that I should clear up. Like, I wasn't glad the game was bad for the people who were excited for it. I'm not a fan of the idea of like more of these big Marvel games.
Yeah,
seeping their way into.
Yeah, and I guess I could say Godfall, but I didn't have expectations for that either. But at the same time, it had a cool concept, like a cool trailer, and but once they started showing gameplay, you just knew it wasn't going to be.
It has posed an interesting question though for me. Like, has there ever been a Destiny that's launched well?
They probably never will be.
No.
And so to cap that all off, my biggest disappointment, which is the obvious one, is Cyberpunk 2077. And then when I say that, I mean the console version, not the PC version.
Fair enough.
Because the console version for me, it crashed like 10 times. I had multiple
Only
graphic
10?
issues, and I played on PS5.
I'm pretty sure I crashed upwards of 30 times.
Yeah, I probably done like 10 to 15 times, and I got really tedious having to drive all the way back to the mission. I didn't like walking down the street and someone kept calling me every 5 seconds to do a side mission. I love that though. I didn't. I would walk 5 minutes, and all of a sudden I would have 10 quests in my log, and I have OCD, and that really bothers me. I like doing one mission at a time. I hate when logs.
We could talk about this for hours, but I do want to say like the gigs, the gigs that are just these simple jobs. They're kind of like a checklist thing. I'm not a big fan of those, but the side missions that people call you for and say, "Hey, can you do this?" I like those a lot.
Yeah, the side missions were good. It was just like they kept calling me and they got on my nerves. I didn't like that. I'd rather like go to the waypoint and then do it. You know what I mean? I don't like.
Sure, but the thing is, the reason I like them, the reason for those missions, not the gigs, but those side missions. Yeah. The reason I like them phoning me for that is because if it feels like if I'm going to a place on the map to go and find it, it feels like a checklist. But them phoning me and putting it on my sort of agenda, that feels more natural.
Well, once in a while would have been fine, but it was like every 5 seconds. Expand with a log or quest something. It just got overwhelming. I was like, I just wanted. At some point, I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna do the main mission and get through it. You know, like I just got. Okay. Yeah, but you know me, I'm not a big open world guy, so that's another thing. This genre is starting to get very stale to me.
Yeah, I could understand that.
Skyrim and all that. It's like they can.
It felt like they had big ambitions for this as well, to make it not like another open world, but make it more dense. But it feels like they sort of just didn't pull it off because the world feels very dead. Yeah,
it does, and I thought the world was gonna be way more cool than it was. It felt like very lifeless. Like Spider-Man had a better open world. I thought like you walk down the street and everybody was more interactive.
Yeah,
you give people high fives and shit. Like this game was just like, my expectations for this game are so high. Like because The Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games ever. So CD Projekt Red to me was like the third best developer in the world before this game came out. They were right up there with Rockstar and Naughty Dog. And it's like, but not even just like the game. Well, I'll say the positive, what I liked. The story was great, the main story and everything. Uh, that's about it.
That's what you got. Okay.
Bro, 'cause the
What I
driving,
liked.
I hated the driving. I hated the gunplay. It was really hard to shoot. Like the aiming, you had to like put skill points into the aiming. So I just did a samurai build. So I used a sword the whole game, which was kind of fun to do.
Those are all valid issues with the game that I agree with. The thing is, what I really liked about the game was the characters and the side missions, and that stuff shined through enough to make it like my fourth favorite game of the year.
There's more things I like. I'm just blanking on it because I'm kind of like in the negative mode right
No, yeah, sure.
But yeah, I was just like, I was expecting so much more polish, I guess.
And then it definitely is lacking in polish.
And then you throw in the
Seb,
line.
they're Polish. They're Polish,
Yeah.
Seb. They have no polish.
And then you throw in the crunch and the lying and the shadiness and the way what they did, like how they hid the console version, and the way they like multiplayer is gonna have microtransactions, and they try to pretend to be everybody's best friend. They did so much damage through reputation.
They said dear gamers. Seb, what more do you want? They said dear gamers.
Yeah, I mean, I know companies are not my best friends, so I don't get.
I know.
I don't fall for it, but they were like Blizzard and Bethesda to me, and
I got to point that out though, because that's the weird thing for me. That people put so much stock in CD Projekt because they made one hit. They had one big success with The Witcher 3.
True. That's
and
true.
Everyone's like, "Oh, they're as good as Rockstar." No, Rockstar's made like dozens of incredible games. Naughty Dog has made dozens of incredible games.
In terms of the story, I guess you could say the writing and the developer.
Yeah, but it was still one game. It's just nuts to me that people put so much stock in them after one game. Like, I'd give them more time.
I was in that boat. That's a fair point. Yeah. So I had fun with it. Like I enjoyed it, but like I thought it was even like my game of the year possibly, and it wasn't even in my top 10. Like period. Like there was just a lot more better games that I enjoyed more. But maybe
yeah.
But maybe I'll go back to it, maybe on the PS5 version or the PC version. I might enjoy it on the second playthrough. Yeah. But I was just so frustrated. We're not disappointed with this game that, yeah.
That's fair enough, and maybe that has something to do with expectations as well, because my expectations weren't as high, I think, as a lot of people.
Yeah. My expectations was like game of the generation, possibly. Like the way they hype. I mean, this is the only game. Maybe it's pretentious looking back on it. Like we were getting like 20-minute streams about how great the AI was, how great the driving was, how great you can customize everything. Oh, customization was a huge disappointment. Like, first of all, it's a first-person game. You can't even see yourself. And then, like, and the customization was like, what, 10 faces you can pick? And that was it. And then I turn on the game, and then it's all grainy. And it's the PS4 version, not the PS5 version. But the look of it was, like, awful. The frame rate looked off. It had a film grain to it. It was like everything about it was just like disappointing. Like it's a good game, don't get me wrong. I'll give it like a 7 out of 10 or whatever. I don't think it's like trash. I just thought like it could have been so much better. But like I said, this is the console version, so maybe...
Yeah, I played it on PS5, and the main issue I had was crashes. Like it looked and ran very well in terms of frame rate and graphics.
It wasn't horrendous, but like I played PS4 games that look way better than that. Like there was a film grain to it that it was just blurry.
No, definitely.
Even my dad walked in. He was like, "Wow, this doesn't look right." And I'm like,
"It's weird though. It's weird because I don't want to be like, I told you so." But I feel like everyone was saying before the game came out, "Oh my god, this looks amazing. This is like the best looking game ever." Yeah, and I was sitting there like, it doesn't look. It looks like The Witcher 3. It looks like it's.
But it is though. Like
it's not a graphical showcase.
High-end PCs, it is.
Is it?
It's the console version that's complete shit. Like the PC high. My friends have a 3080 and a 3090. That game is gorgeous. This game. The problem is this game was not made for consoles. It was like this was a PC focused. This was a PC exclusive that they had to put on consoles because they had a marketing deal with Xbox, and they don't want to lose a huge audience with PlayStation fans. But this game, if this game got like 4 months of delay, I think it would have been a lot more polished and a lot better. I feel like they should have delayed it again, or at least put the PC version out first and then do the console version like in April. I think there would have been a way better reaction. I know I don't mean to really shit on this game because I might be sound more negative than I intend to. There was just a lot of elements of it that disappointed me. So
I mean, I think honestly, I mean, we can talk about the game circles and circles. I think a lot of the problems come down from the fact that CD Projekt Red, as a company, as a big corporation, just completely failed its audience, its workers. It just failed in a lot of elements. I can't say much about the game. Obviously, I haven't played. I'd rather play Miles Morales 400 times over than I'd ever touch CD Projekt Red. But yes. I just think the way that they handled it, was awful. The way that they did the whole thing was awful. They never listened. The higher ups never really listened to the people down below, and that's part of why the game ended up being as bad as it was in some ways, and not
if I could just
maximized.
What other game has Keanu Reeves complimenting your genitalia?
All right, now that is a good point, and I see the floor to James on that one.
Yeah, so the characters were great, story was great. I love the Japanese aesthetic, the cyberpunk, and that I love that whole section of the game because I'm a sucker for cyberpunk, cyber samurai. 'Cause that's what my character was. He was like a samurai. I really enjoyed that. I love just running in and slashing people with the sword. That was fun. Yeah, like it just needed more polish. That's what
I wish there had been a 2020 game all about being a samurai and you could cut people and the sword play would have been really good. That'd be cool, Seb.
Yeah, that wasn't
from a much better company that actually listens to other people.
Like,
oh no, I was thinking of Ghost Runner. Ghost Runner's better than Ghost of Tsushima.
I was thinking of a different Ghost, but okay.
Ghost Runner's a good example as well because the same aesthetic and everything. But
sure,
yeah,
that was a fun game.
To me, if this game should have been third person, in my opinion. You should have had the option to switch, like Fallout does. You click a button and it's third person. I don't see why they couldn't do that.
I always think that like the Bethesda games are weaker because of that. Like, I always feel like it's you try to have it both ways and neither way is as strong as it could be.
I don't think that's the reason Bethesda games like that. I just think they're like that because they don't polish their games. They're just buggy. I don't think it has anything to do with the third person or first person.
Yeah, I guess it is better in the Battlefront games.
No, that's just a part of open world games where they get buggy and glitchy. I mean, The Witcher 3 was a huge mess when it first launched. People forget that. It was a mess, but it was way more polished than this. They fixed it up pretty quick. In this game, they're still doing patches. That's a bad sign for me when a game has hundreds of patches like every week to save the game. You know what I mean? And look at Avengers. Those are 1,000, 2,000. So
fair, no, it's a fair pick.
That's my rant about Cyberpunk. So I still like it. It's a good game, but it was disappointing.
Yeah, I love the game, but even if you love the game, you have to admit its flaws because it does have a lot of issues.
I'll replay it on the PC, I think, and I might like it a lot better than it. So
yeah. So that's probably gonna be my last pick, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple I could go for, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War.
I'm with you on that as well.
More specifically, certain elements of it.
Yeah, me too. Yep, I'm with you.
It's sort of just the story. I remember liking the story, the campaign when I played it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the exact same thing as the Modern Warfare reboot story, where I liked it when I played it. As I had time to sit on it for a few weeks after that, the more I thought about it, the more it was like, okay, no, that was actually kind of shit and very sort of flat, and there wasn't a lot to it, and it was very sort of trying to have a deeper message or something like that, but it actually just
fell flat.
Yeah,
I thought it was generic. The story, I thought it was.
Yeah, definitely.
It
was fun at the time, but then there's not much to think on. It's all very.
It was very Call of Duty. It was just like.
But that's the thing. Even that's the problem I think with these newer Call of Duties, right? They're not as self-aware as they used to be. When it was the old Infinity Ward, which is now Respawn Entertainment, making the campaigns like Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare, they were very silly, but they were self-aware. They knew what they were, you know.
Yeah, these games are. They're like, I don't know. I guess you could say that they're like set pieces much. It's like instead of telling a story, they're just making a level that's fun, like what high explosives to show off the.
Because I think the way they work is they make the levels and then they build the story around that.
That's what they do.
But I think they did that even back in the day, and it worked out better.
Worked better back then, though. Yeah, the stories were better back then because people remember all these characters from back in the day. You know?
Yeah, because they were written better. Because now they try to be all serious and have a serious message and stuff, but it just doesn't. They're not good at that.
It just feels like set pieces. It just feels like, okay, we're gonna do a house
sneak mission. We're gonna have the big Vietnam explosions everywhere, and then we're gonna do, you know what I mean? They're just like, it felt like a demo reel of just showing off the PS5 graphics. You know what I mean? That's.
I will say though, I fucking love the Vietnam missions. I'm a sucker for that.
No, they were great. They were great. Yeah, don't get me wrong. The levels were all really good. I liked most of it. It was just the overall story was just like
100%.
very predictable.
Russell Adler is a rubbish character. They're all really rubbish characters. But
nothing about that was memorable. I thought, like, I mean, how many times are we gonna do a game with the spy? Like, your commander is a guy with sunglasses on. He's a mysterious character. He works for the CIA. It's like, I've seen this in a million movies in the Cold War. Like,
and also they recast all the voice actors, and they all sound terrible.
They do.
Like, Mason sounds nothing like Mason.
Yeah,
Woods is a fucking onion, apparently.
And then the multiplayer was probably the worst part of the game, right?
Oh, 100%. Like, that's the thing. I actually love the zombies. The zombies are fantastic.
Zombies are the best part of the game. That's a save game. But
the multiplayer is just atrocious. The gunplay really falls flat. The time to kill is too high or too low. It takes too long to kill people.
I don't get why they changed what people like. I know it's good to experiment, but they just went way.
Yeah, and the aesthetic is not as good as the Modern Warfare aesthetic as well. Like, I thought the multiplayer in Modern Warfare was fine. This is a big step down from that.
Well, I mean, the Cold War it wasn't really a war, so it's really hard to like get a cool like war out of it, because it's like
it was a proxy war. It was a proxy war mostly fought in Afghanistan and other countries. You know, the only thing I can say about Black Ops 2 is that Reagan was in it. It probably valorized Reagan. I didn't want to play it immediately.
Black Ops Cold War, you mean?
Cold War, yeah, I'm sorry.
It doesn't really. He's in it for like a few seconds, but
yeah,
he's not really like, it's not political or anything like that.
Well, of course, they never make
like,
political.
He's not a core character. He kind of just shows up in one like scene, and then and in the end, you have a choice between doing a good thing or a bad thing.
Gotcha.
I don't want to spoil it. I'm sure people know, but
it's pretty. The ending of falls very flat. Feels very rushed.
Very too on the nose.
It's like you make a decision and then there's a mission after it, but the mission lasts like 2 minutes, and then that's okay. Game done.
Should I say it? I mean,
no, don't say it. But like, that's is rubbish.
I'll just put it away. You can side with the Russians or you can side with, and that's basically
sure.
So, anyways, now we're going to talk about our biggest surprises of 2020, and let's talk about Hades.
We
don't have time for that, I'm afraid.
Damn it!
Next week,
they're trying to censor me.
Next week for sure. I want to, because I have a lot of surprise. I was very negative.
Hades wasn't even a big surprise. Hades wasn't even a surprise.
It was a surprise for me because I didn't like roguelites.
Everyone knows Supergiant makes good games.
No, I think Hades was a huge
I had never played Supergiant up until just a little bit before.
No, everybody that mentions Hades, this game was gonna be that good. Almost everybody I've seen that starts the review about Hades is like, I don't like roguelikes that much, but Hades is one of the best games of the year, so I think it's a huge surprise.
If that's all the reviews, why are they having people who don't like roguelikes review a roguelike?
Because they're trying to show how accessible it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Why is Ryan McCaffrey?
Anyway, I was just kidding. I thought you were just gonna cut me off and we're gonna end, but I guess not.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. We can do it next week.
Well, anyway, that's the end of the show for this week.
And the end of 2020.
I was very negative tonight. Wow.
You were very negative tonight.
I was on a roll.
Seb, we're kicking you off the show, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You're too negative for us.
Way more positive.
I'm the one that proposed this negative topic.
Yeah,
you're too negative.
Your fault.
You're too negative.
It's James' fault.
You slandered dreams. I won't have that on this podcast.
You slandered Resident Evil 3.
That deserves it.
There was so many good surprises last year, so I would like to talk about that.
Sure, we can talk about that. But yes,
I thought we were gonna stop 2020 though. Stop talking about 2020.
Well, we'll decide off the air, whatever. Anyway, if you like this podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast feed, give us a thumbs up, give us a rating on Apple Podcasts. That helps us apparently. And yeah, thanks for listening. We just put up that video where we had a professional rock climber reacting to the climbing in Uncharted. That's a really fun video. You should definitely check that out. Definitely not just Marvel and a fake mustache. We've got some more fun stuff coming. You'll see throughout the month. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.